Hello, and welcome back to another video here on Celeb Factor. Dr. Phil has some amazing guests on his show. Some are calm, some are wild, and some are just outrageous. It's fun watching Dr. Phil own his guests when they do not act according to him. In this video, we look at some amazing and wild moments on the Dr. Phil show. Stay tuned, but before we begin, can you quickly do us a favor by liking and subscribing to the channel? Turn on the bell for the latest notifications so that you don't miss another video. With that said, let's jump right into today's content. Dr. Phil owns King Keith. Let's face the truth, kids and their parents disagree on a lot of things, especially when your kid is growing older and is learning to be more independent. They can go down the wrong path, and no parents wants this. One of the biggest things parents want for their kids is to go to school, study, obtain a degree, work, and then settle down. However, this guy who goes by the name King Keith, which is his own nickname, had no interest in what his parents wanted from him. He believed he was going to get so famous and that he didn't require an education. When he went to meet Dr. Phil, he tried to build up to him by saying that he listens to him a lot and that he learns a lot from him and takes his advice. However, Dr. Phil knew better, especially considering Dr. Phil knew how King Keith was behaving with his mother. King Keith wasn't interested in his mom's advice and was solely focused on building fame on the internet and in the world. Dr. Phil just wouldn't have it, and he made it clear that King Keith had to do better both for himself and his mom, and it didn't look like King Keith would openly believe that because while he was agreeing with Dr. Phil, you could tell that he really wasn't listening to him. Rather, he was just playing to him so that his credibility wouldn't drop. He then went on trying to change tactics so that he could talk about what he actually wanted to talk about. This is when Dr. Phil dropped the hammer, saying, "Since this is my show and that you don't have yours yet, we're going to talk things on my agenda, not yours." King Keith couldn't help but smile at since he knew he got exposed by Dr. Phil, and it's sad because there are many people like King Keith thanks to the age of the internet, but trust Dr. Phil, he knows how to put his guests in place. Identity theft. This one sounds dumb, but here's the whole story. Internet scams and identity theft is no joke. Dennis had no care for either of these when he sent over $200,000 in the course of under a year to a woman named Kimberly Escobar, whom he met online and intended to marry her through a dating site. Now, Kimberly's story is just absurd and shouldn't be believed. She told Dennis she left her home in Chicago to go on a business trip to South Africa, where she and her daughter ended up in the hospital due to a car accident. Once they were discharged by the hospital, they returned back home to the US, but they were detained at the airport because their passports had expired. Dennis got them out by sending them cash the authorities demanded. Dennis continued to support the two financially. However, Kimberly and her daughter were detained once again by immigration officials in Istanbul, and that's when Dennis found something fishy. He was invited on the Dr. Phil show, and here's where Dr. Phil realized he had fallen into the hands of a scammer. We're glad Dr. Phil opened this man's eyes before he gave away all his life savings to a scammer on the web. The girl obsessed with looking beautiful. Up next, we have yet another example of people who are obsessed with the most ridiculous things. Tamara is a good example of how the world loves promoting some things that are out of control. I am the case of Tamara. Looking pretty wasn't just a goal, it was a mindset. She just didn't want to look beautiful, she had to look beautiful, and she would even refuse to leave the house at times if she didn't look beautiful. And we forgot to mention that she was only 17 at the time she went on Dr. Phil. What's worse, Tamara even dropped out of high school because of her looks. One of her reasons was that it would take her 3 hours just to get ready because of her needing to look beautiful as she possibly could. Still not satisfied, she would spend thousands of dollars on looking perfect. Now, Dr. Phil took a more delicate approach in the case of Tamara. He noted that this thing she was going through was because she was obsessed with herself and suggested that she needed to do something from the heart and build up her spirit by helping others and not focusing on herself. Dr. Phil knows it's hard to be mad at Tamara. She's not necessarily ruining the world like the other spoiled kids, but rather she's a byproduct of the standards the world sets or needed to survive. She has it in her head that she has to live by these rules, and that's sad. Hopefully, Dr. Phil's words were enough to get her on the right path. There you have it, 3 crazy stories on the Dr. Phil show. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.